Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with anybody you think might get something out of it. Other than that, how we all doing, guys? Happy Monday. God, what a day. And saga continues, still working on the bathroom. I don't know if you guys can see my eye, but I got a big blood. I had an incident this morning where my eye was actually bleeding. And, it was a situation where I don't think there was anything I could have done about it. I was literally just pulling plastic spacers out from between the tile, and something shot out of the wall. I think that spacer stretched like a rubber band and shot a little piece of cement board. And it right at my eye. I ran to wash it out. I made sure I didn't blink. And when I opened up my eye, there was actually blood coming up. I'm like, oh, Jesus, I've never actually had my eye bleed before. But, yeah, it was painful. It was rough. But you know what? I washed it out and I put a patch over it for the day because, it didn't, my vision was fine. It just, obviously it hurt. But I was in the middle of doing the bathroom and it's got to be done for tomorrow night. Some days, again, obviously if I needed medical attention, I would have went and sought medical attention, but I believed I was okay. Unfortunately, I'm pretty familiar with eye injuries. I get more of them than any human being I've ever met. Obviously I should be wearing safety glasses 24/7. And I got to consider that because this is getting crazy. Twice in a week is a bit much. Anyway, the bathroom's coming along really nicely. I got all of the tile grouted. Half the bathroom painted. The vanity's ready to install. The toilet's ready to go. And I just got to do a little bit of trim work and some paint tomorrow. And that's it, man. We're in good shape. So it's going to be another long, hard day tomorrow getting everything done. But I got most of the job site cleaned up today. My buddy Jimmy came in, we cranked, and we had a good day, and the place is looking really good. I sent some pictures off to the owner. I'm waiting for his response, but I know he's going to be happy. The child looks absolutely fantastic, and it's good. These are the weeks that I got to remind myself, and this is why I do these readings every day, and this is a perfect reading for the day. It's keeping recovery fresh, because as I'm stepping into new territory, and that's the thing, guys, I'm so afraid of getting complacent and moving backwards. And beyond that, I see the opportunities that lie in front of me. Nothing comes easy, but I've got an opportunity to really take my business to the next level this year. I'm getting more used to working with having people work under me and getting better at managing them. And I'm being offered bigger and bigger jobs like this bathroom remodel. And then I've still got a service work that I got to take care of. So it's definitely a learning curve. It's definitely taxing. And these are the situations where in the past I would start to focus on the opportunities in front of me and start to let my recovery slip. And the reason I do these readings every day, the reason I keep in touch with my sponsor, I reach out to members of my group. First person I let know when I cut my eye this morning was one of my group members who I knew she'd I kind of got a kick out of it, but I knew we talk a lot, so she knows she just got to be shaking her head like, what is wrong with this kid? But that's what it is. And again, in any other point in my life, my eye, let me go have an excuse to go run and use more drugs today. And I didn't take so much of an aspirin for it. Yeah, it hurt like hell. Fortunately, as soon as I put the eye patch on it and washed it out good, the pain subsided once it stopped bleeding, and it just got a big blood stain on it. But you know what? I focus on my work. I got a good day in. I'm set up to finish strong tomorrow. It's going to take a lot, but I will get it done on time. And then I got to move right on to the next job on Wednesday, which is another big job. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But during all this, again, I don't get out of bed without saying my prayers. I reach out to my recovery network. I make sure I'm home to do my video every night, because this is part of my recovery program. I will be going to the gym tomorrow morning because it's my gym day. And I make time for everything. In this concessions, I worked a little bit later than I worked I worked yesterday, and I worked a little bit later today than I would normally like to. But again, there's a deadline for it, and I still honored all my other commitments, and I'm making time for my recovery. These are the times where it's most important for me. That I'm coming up on 18 months in just about another week. And this reading's talking about more years down the road. But again, I do these things to remind myself so that I stay plugged in, so that when I reach 5 years, God willing, I'm still just as plugged in. And that's my biggest thing, guys. I do this day in and day out because I know what's waiting for me out there. I know what my history is. I know the minute I stop looking at life from a place of gratitude, keeping my recovery first and being grateful for my recovery, then I'm at risk of falling into the oh, it's too busy for me to go to a meeting, or I don't have time to make a video, and that's when my addiction is just waiting for me to relapse. And it's the daily stresses. It's not always the big life, big hardships in life that so many people end up going back out over. It's just the day-to-day stresses when they come disconnected from their program, and that's what I'm terrified of. There's one thing in this life that scares me. It's going back into active addiction and letting go of everything that I have. And here's the thing, guys. We don't have to get complacent in recovery, and our recovery doesn't have to plateau. And that's what I'm challenging myself to do, is keep reaching higher every day. Every time I hit a new level, that's just a stepping stone to the next one. I want to challenge myself to keep going, to see how big a business I can build, how big a recovery following I can build, how big a life that I can build. And in order to do that, I've got to keep my recovery first. So that's what we're talking about today, guys. Keeping recovery fresh. It's the Just for Today NA meditation. Sorry about the sun, guys. Just at it's the time of year. Complacency is the enemy of members with substantial clean time. If we remain complacent for long, the recovery process ceases. After the first couple of years in recovery, most of us start to feel like there are no more big deals. If we've been diligent in working the steps, the past is largely resolved and we have a solid foundation on which to build our future. We learn to take life pretty much as it comes. Familiarity with the steps allows us to resolve problems almost as quickly as they arise. Once we discover this level of comfort, we may tend to treat it as a rest stop on the recovery path. Doing so, however, discounts the nature of our disease. Addiction is patient, subtle, progressive, and incurable. It's also fatal. We can die from this disease, and most likely if we go back out. Unless we continue to treat it, and we know what the treatment for addiction is, an ongoing program of recovery. The 12 steps are a process, a path we take to stay ahead of our disease. Meetings, sponsorship, service, and the steps always remain essential to ongoing recovery. Though we may practice our program somewhat differently with 5 years clean than we did with 5 months, this does not mean that the program has changed or becomes any less important. Only that our practical understanding has changed and grown. To keep our recovery fresh and vital, we need to stay alert for the opportunities to practice our program and to grow in life and keep plugged in. The affirmation is just for today. As I keep growing in recovery, I will search for new ways to practice my program. And guys, I hope I'm still saying that in 5 years, because that means my life will be continuing to expand. I'll be in a much better place. But make no mistake about it, as much beauty and as much control and as much opportunity I have today, I know for a minute every bit of this is because I finally for once in my life decided to choose life over drugs. They don't go together. Not for me, not for any addict. Once you get to the point that if you're anything like me, where you're choosing drugs over stability, over housing, willing to live homeless so that you can not answer to anybody but the drug and the drug dealer, like I made those choices, and that's what my brain will take me if I'm running on free will, I'm on self-will, and I let the drugs slip under my skin. I also know that I've never used anything, guys. I'm somebody that I started smoking pot when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and that turned into a round-the-clock thing. I started drinking at like 15, 16, and by the time I was 17, I was a full-blown alcoholic. When I quit drinking in my early 20s because of too many OUIs and too much prison time, I immediately ended up way over my head with cocaine. I left prison 180 pounds jacked, and a year later I was 115 pounds coked out, looked like Skeletor. And then, I couldn't shake the cocaine until I got hit by a car and opiates came into the picture. And then forget it, the wheels come off. The next 20 years, chasing opiates. So I've been literally in the throes of addiction from the time I was 10 or 11 years old till 50. Almost 51. No, 51 when I came into recovery. Right? I'm 53 and I don't ever want to go back. I gave 40 years to addiction. And I worked hard all those years and had zero to show for it. Lost relationships, lost houses, lost businesses, lost time, lost self-respect, lost my identity, lost my moral values, lost my connection with my higher power. I gave all those things away to addiction, and I know that now, and that's how powerful addiction is in my life. I have this very beautiful program that requires a little bit of effort and a little bit of time every day, but it must be practiced every day. And I'm not saying that if I skip my video tomorrow that I'd be boom back out, on the streets, but one slip, and here's the slippery slope of it, guys, and this is what I see all the time when people come back, and those are the lucky ones, guys. Understand, the people that get 10 years in recovery and then go back out and make it back in are incredibly lucky, because most that go back out don't come back in. Like, these drugs are deadly these days. The fentanyl is so strong. I know that I would go, if I were to go up and use my drug of choice, heroin. First of all, there's no heroin anymore, so it would be fentanyl. I would know how to dose it, and I would more than likely, I guarantee that I would overdose, and then it's a crapshoot, depending on how strong that batch happens to be, that I'm even going to survive using it once. That is not a gamble I'm willing to take today, but I know that if I don't stay plugged into my recovery program, my brain will start telling me that that's a good idea. How crazy is that? That's the disease of addiction. I have all this knowledge, I have all this love for my life today, because I choose to remind myself constantly, and I mean the first thing I do when I get out of bed in the morning is I drop to my knees and I say my prayers and I speak to my higher power, whom I choose to call God. The very first thing that I'd say when I'm done reciting my prayers is, God, thank you for my recovery, thank you for my sobriety, thank you for my continued desire to remain in recovery. Because that's the thing, recovery is a choice, and it's a choice we have to make every single day. And if we become complacent about it, we start forgetting that, and we start just thinking that we're okay because, we haven't done drugs in 18 months or, 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years or whatever. But life will always try to, life is tough. Like, it's hard. And when we know that, there's mother's little helper in the medicine cabinet, if we're not plugged in and reminding ourselves daily of just what that is going to do to us, we start forgetting the misery. And it's amazing, guys. Like, when I came into recovery 10 years ago, and when I first got to Somerville, and I went to the Casper House, and I got a good job, I was coming out of 4 years of living homeless. I had lost every bit of hope, every bit of self-respect. I did not think that I was ever going to find my place and find my way, and then boom, I got into a job, and I got stabilized, and I was given an opportunity. And my friend Doug saw my work ethic, and he's like, listen, you stick here in 5 years, I'll make you a millionaire. And I'm like, ooh, hung my hat on that. But he forgot to mention if I remained sober, and that's what I didn't do. But now, fortunately, I'm a hard worker, so I would show up at work most of the time, and he kept me around most of the time. I got fired a few times, and he'd have to kick me to the curb when I just got too messed up or made too many mistakes or just, disappeared too many times chasing drugs. But I forgot the contingency. Had I showed up and remained sober, I'd already be a millionaire 5 years ago. He's a man of his word. I suddenly have that opportunity. And here's the thing, guys, it's not all for naught, because I still showed up and learned all those skills. So when I get into recovery this time around, and it was the choice I made back in December of 24, and Doug put it very plainly, either go put yourself into rehab, none of this I'm going to get on Suboxone or anything else, no, you go to rehab, or I'm evicting you, and I'm washing my hands of you, and it's going to break my heart, because I love you like a brother, he says. He goes, I'll pay for the rehab, I'll hold your apartment, but if you don't go, you're gone. I can't watch you do this to yourself, and you're going to do this to yourself. I was withered away, guys. I was literally... My wife had left, and I was just, the wheels had come off. I didn't care. I wasn't showering. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was a menace. But for the grace of God, I hadn't killed myself or anybody else out there. Falling asleep at the wheel, driving down the road, not even nodding out, but just falling asleep at red lights because I'm not sleeping for 16, 17 days. The minute my body would stop, I'd pass out. I was absolutely incredibly dangerous, and not eating. I was withered away. I was a shell. If you go and look at my first videos, that was 18 months ago, and that was already after a month of rehab, getting healthy, and I look like Skeletor. I look like I was 75. I look at those videos, and I'm disgusted today. And I'm still ravaged from addiction, but I'm coming back strong, and I'm getting stronger and healthier every day because I choose recovery every day. But and again, I don't dwell and I don't gloat and I don't live in the past and I don't beat myself up. But I keep that in my pocket to remind myself of what's on the other side of recovery. There's no, there's no little of this and a little of that with addiction and recovery. You either fall back into addiction and you take all that comes with it, or you go full head into recovery. And complacency is the enemy of that. And again, some people do. Some people plateau and they say, okay, I'm okay. I got a job. I've got my family. I don't have the ambition, and that's okay. But stay plugged into recovery. For me, I've got ambition. I'm ashamed, and again, I've let it go. But I see what I could have done had I got my head out of my ass 30 years ago, and that's okay. But it gives me the ambition because, again, this time around, I had a lot more roadblocks in front of me when I thought I could have done this 10 years ago, and I didn't have the skill set that I did. I have 10 years experience of working every day in the trade that I'm running my business up today. Now, basically, when I turned myself over to God, when I turned my will over to God this time around, He paved the way. He took away all the negativity from my heart and all the desire to use drugs just like I needed. Yet He took all the positive attributes, all the good things that I've done for the last 10 years were basically opening doors of opportunity, and I saw that. But again, that is contingent upon me choosing recovery every day. In order to do that, I have to do something as I grow. Like the things that kept me clean 18 months ago were just, having food in the fridge and getting, out from underneath the mountain of debt. Well, I cleared that mountain of debt, 16 months ago. If that was my highest ambition, then I'd be getting complacent right now. But no, I started out doing very small service calls, and here we are 18 months later. I'm putting more into my YouTube. I'm chairing a meeting. I'm going to more meetings. I'm working with the sponsor. I'm going through the steps. I'm starting to reach out to other people and help them. And then I'm taking these principles that I'm learning in my recovery program and I'm applying them to all the areas of my life. And I'm building a business, and I'm running Doug's business, and I'm getting new opportunities for new customers, and I'm getting new opportunities to run the show for 3 families, and I'm getting a new opportunity to own property. That was been my dream my whole life. That's how I keep my recovery fresh. You got to find something that allows you to keep your recovery fresh. And the first thing that's going to go with complacency is when we stop going to meetings, we stop thinking we have to go to stay plugged in, reaching out to newcomers, reaching out to group members, talking to your sponsor, being of service. When you start feeling yourself going to meetings and not feeling the invigoration that I feel every week when I go there, start feeling like I don't know everybody personally in that meeting, then that's the first sign of danger. And I know that today, but I can forget that very easily. I forget a lot of things, but I got to make sure I don't forget things about my recovery. I also got to remember to wear safety glasses, because I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but that's pretty nasty. Guys, that's the video for today. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.